Hi guys, Miss Powell here, and today we are covering surface area of triangular prisms. So on your star chart, you would go down to surface area. It's a triangular prism, so you're going to go to prism, and then the two formulas we're going to use is S equals pH for lateral and S equals pH plus 2b for total. This should be familiar to you because this is the same formulas that we use for rectangular prisms. So let's go ahead and get started. For the notes section, it says triangular prisms are made up of the following faces. You're going to have bases, and those are going to be the two triangles. They are going to be parallel and congruent faces. For lateral faces, you're going to have the three rectangular faces connecting the bases. And the reason you have three rectangular faces is because you have three sides on a triangle. The height of a triangular prism, or the H, is the distance between the two triangular faces. We just discussed the formula, so I'm just going to go ahead and jot that down. So for lateral, you have perimeter times height. And then for total, you have perimeter times height plus 2 times big B. The parts of the formula, P is the perimeter of the base. And to find the perimeter of a triangle, remember your base is the triangle. To find the perimeter of the triangle, you add your three sides. So side plus side plus side. Your three sides, add them up, and that's your perimeter. Excuse me. The H is the height of the prism, which is basically the distance between the two bases. Distance between bases slash number left over, kind of like yesterday. I'm sorry, 2 days ago. So it's the distance between the bases or the number that's left over when you recreate your base. And then your big B is the area of the base. And to find the area of the base, you're going to do base times height divided by 2 because it's a triangle. So the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. And if you don't remember that, remember we wrote big B right here. So if you go to area of a triangle, the formula is right here, 1/2 BH, which is the same thing as base times height divided by 2, whichever way you want to write it out. Okay, let's do some solving. So same steps as last time, guys. I'm not all fancy. I don't do different stuff. So my first thing is I'm going to identify my two triangles. So I have a triangle right here. These are my bases. And then I have a triangle right here. That's my other base. So now that I see what my bases look like, they're right triangles, I'm going to pull it off to the side so that I can easily identify my numbers. The left side is 5. The bottom is 12. And my hypotenuse, bringing back Pythagorean theorem, is 13. Now that I have labeled my base, the numbers that I used on my base, I can cross out. So 5, 12, 13. The number that's left over is my height. You guessed it, if you guessed it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start identifying the 3 parts that we're going to need: our perimeter, our height, our base. So for perimeter, you're going to do side times side times side. So this is 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides. So 5 plus 12 plus 13. 12 and 13 is 25 plus 5 is 30. So my perimeter is 30. We've already identified our height. So then we need to get our big B. So for big B, you do base times height divided by 2. Or sometimes I like to say bottom times height so that I'll know it's the bottom of the triangle, the bottom times how tall the triangle is and height. Okay, so my bottom is 12 times how tall my triangle is 5. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. If you have a right triangle and you are doing surface area, you never use your hypotenuse again. Once you use your hypotenuse for the perimeter, I'm sorry, after you use your hypotenuse for the perimeter, you can cross it out because when you do your big B, you should only use your two legs. Your two legs, if you're thinking of Pythagorean theorem, you always use your legs. And remember, this will be my right triangle, and those are my two legs. So you always multiply your legs and divide by 2. So 12 times 5 is 60 and divide that by 2 and you get 30. So my big B is 30. First, I'm going to do my lateral, which is perimeter times height. My perimeter identified is 30 and my height is 10. So when I do 30 times 10, I'm going to get 300 and it's centimeters squared. Now to finish that up, I am going to go and add the rest of the formula. So for total surface area, it's perimeter times height plus 2 big B. So now I'm going to go plus 2, and my big B is 30. So I'm going to take that 300 and do plus 2 times 30, and I got 360 centimeters squared. Okay, on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead and start shading in my bases. Now, one thing that you have to be careful with is when you have numbers in the middle of your base. When you do, you want to make sure that you can still see that number. So when I shade in, I'm going to kind of shade around it. So I know that's my base, but I also can see that number that's right in the middle of it. Now I'm going to recreate my base over here. So I have a triangle that looks more like this. The bottom of my triangle is 6. The side of my triangle is 5. And guys, anytime you see these little lines that's right here, it means equilateral. And equilateral mean they're the same. So if this side is 5, then that side is 5 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that 5. And then right down the middle of this triangle, I have a 4. So I have to make sure I do that as well. Okay, I have labeled my entire triangle. Now that I have labeled, I can go through and cross out all the numbers that I have used. Okay, I use that 6, that 5, and that 4. So this 8, the only number that's left over, that has to be my height. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting some numbers identified. I'm going to start off with my perimeter. And remember your perimeter, you add the outside of the triangle. So the 3 sides on the outside, which is 5 plus 5 plus 6, and that is 16. I've already identified my height. So the next thing I need to identify is my big B. Remember your big B is the bottom of your triangle times how tall your triangle is. So 4, and then you divide that by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Okay. So for lateral surface area, it is PH. My perimeter was 16 times my height of 8. 16 times 8 is 128. So my lateral surface area is 128 feet squared. And then my total surface area, after the pH, I'm going to add my 2B. So add 2, and my big B is 12. So I'm going to take that 128 and add 2 times 12, and I got 152. 152 feet squared. Again, I am going to shade in my bases. Sorry, guys. I'm going to recreate. Education Foundation donation. They are going to be having a prize. The drawing this week is the bottom. I know one of them is 12. $100 Airbnb gift card. So if you wanted to make sure you were in the drawing, height is the 9. Your donation is to me in the next. The hypotenuse is 15. So now that I have relabeled it, I'm going to start crossing out what I've labeled. So I've labeled the 12, the 9, and the 15. The one number that is left over is my height. So now let's start getting our numbers. Perimeter, you add your 3 sides. So 15 plus 12 plus 9. 15 plus 12 plus 9 is 36. And then I need to get my big B because I already know my height is over here. And my height, remember I multiply my 2 legs. These are my legs. This is my hypotenuse. So 12 times 9 and then divided by 2. 12 times 9. And I want to show you because majority of you don't have this calculator at home. So 12 times 9 and then take that 108 and divide it by 2 and you get 54. Okay. So now lateral is perimeter times height. My perimeter is 36. My height is 7. 36 times 7 is 252. So 252 mm squared. And then of course to find total surface area, you just add the 2b to that. So add 2 and my big B is 54. So take my 252 and add 2 times 54 and we get 360 mm squared. Last one. Start out by shading in my bases. And when it's something like this, I like to use highlighters most of the time because I can still shade in my base and still see the number that's in it. So it just depends on what you have on hand. Got my bases shaded in. Now I'm going to recreate my base. I have 10 over here and 12 over here. I have this equilateral line, which means if one side is 10, the other side is 10. So I can go ahead and label that. And in the inside of my triangle, I have an 8, which is my how tall the triangle is. So now I use that 8 and I'm already marked those off. The one number that's left over, this 18, is my height because it's the distance from one base to the other base. My perimeter, I am adding the 3 sides of the triangle. So 10 plus 10 plus 12 is 32. My height is over here and my big B is the bottom of the triangle times how tall the triangle is, which is that 8. And then I'm going to divide that by 2. So 12 times 8 divided by 2 is 48. Lateral surface area is perimeter times height. My perimeter was 32. My height was 18. 32 times 18 is 576 inches squared. And then to find my total, I'm just going to add 2 big B. So add 2, and my big B was 48. 576 plus 2 times 48 is 672 inches squared. All right, guys, so as long as you are shading in your base, recreating your base, and then using those numbers for your perimeter and your big B, you'll be good. The number that's left over is your height. So just make sure you're taking your time and using your formulas. Good luck.